It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at AmericasVoiceNow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Greetings, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. I'm going to talk about a couple of issues that are critical for us to be aware of, not the least of which is the Senate and their telephone systems at their offices in Washington have melted down. And a lot of that credit goes to you. We're going to talk a little bit about what the responses have been and how you can make an effective communication interface with your legislators or alleged legislators. Let's be candid and clear about this. These people are no longer representing you, and it's time that you let them and everyone else who is a supporter or communicator with them know the truth. And we're going to talk about how you can accomplish that. Our second segment is going to talk generally about how we as Americans can arise, wake the sleeping giant, and begin to destroy this dragon for what it is. This administration, this current government that we have, has outlived its effective usefulness to the average American. And we're going to talk a little bit about what is required of us, the grassroots, the average American person, the average citizen, to restore constitutionality and the rule of law in the United States of America. You know, I hear people like Harry Reid going out there and throwing around words like Tea Party anarchists. With all due respect, we live in a police state of tyranny, and Harry Reid is a large part of that. That kind of rhetoric should be all that Americans need to see and hear to understand exactly the depths of desperation that these people in Washington have fallen to. We need to make and reassert our control over this government. We're going to talk a little bit about how we can accomplish that. You know, the idea of outrage without corrective measure means that basically you're whining. And whining accomplishes nothing. All it does is ask the master to stop the beatings, which essentially gives the master the message that whether or not the beatings continue is entirely up to them. That's the wrong approach, America. Our third segment, the IRS is apparently missing $67 million. Yes, $67 million. And it's missing from an Obamacare slush fund. This was a fund that was established for Obamacare implementation, and it is missing. It has been misused, spent, and abused. The ultimate injury or insult to the injury is that the IRS has actually come out and told the Inspector General, who's been doing the investigation, that it will now comply with the recommendations that he has made in that report. But unfortunately, the slush fund has already been spent. So that promise is meaningless. There is no accountability. There is absolute impunity and immunity for law breaking on the part of government, and only government. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a tragedy. That segment, we're also going to cover the fact that the NSA has planted bugs at the Indian missions. Now we're talking India, Eastern Asia. And not only did they plant bugs at the UN, but also at their consulates. So I have a question for you. If this whole NSA scheme and scam is all about fighting terrorism and protecting America, how do they calculate bugging friendly countries' embassies and consulates into that dialogue? The truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, that the NSA's actions, not only against Americans, but against foreign governments, is a violation of international law. It's a violation of the principles of the United States of America. It is designed and geared for one thing: to build, gain information, build dossiers, and develop a methodology of control. Anything else that you believe it's about is wrong. And I'm going to explain to you how. Our fourth and final segment is a pretty disturbing section. The Senate has a website out there which actually says that the Second Amendment is questionable as to whether or not it applies to an individual's right to own firearms. Now, what we have to understand on this particular issue is that this is revisionist history boldly displayed for all the world to see. The problem with that is that it's hosted and written and promoted by the very traitors in the Senate of the United States of America. It's posted in 2009, long after the Supreme Court, or SCOTUS, handed down a decision that stated that the Second Amendment is an individual right. And it obviously flies in the face of the empirical evidence that was created, promoted, written, exposed by the founders and the creators of the Constitution itself. Now, if you want to know what their motivations were, ask them. The information is visible, it's clear, it's evidentiary, it's empirical, and it's written down. We don't need a Second Amendment decision made by SCOTUS to tell us what the rights of Americans are relating to firearms. We already know what that is. The Second Amendment and the founders themselves told us what it was. John Adams came out and said, "Arms in the hands of citizens may be used at individual discretion for the defense of country, the overthrow of tyranny, or private self-defense." Now I want you to hear that again. Arms in the hands of citizens. Citizens, not militias, may be used. Notice the words coming, at individual discretion. Not a collective. At individual discretion. For the defense of the nation, the country, the overthrow of tyranny, or private self-defense. Private self-defense means individual, the minority of one. Private self-defense does not require a militia. In fact, it obviously expressly excludes a militia. Otherwise, it wouldn't be private. Individual discretion is a very, very abundantly clear phrase. For the defense of the country, for the overthrow of tyranny, or private self-defense. And then the last segment we're going to tackle in that area is the Federal Reserve and their hidden agenda behind the money they're printing and the debt they're holding. I got to tell you, America, when the results of this come in, and when interest rates begin to rise, as they must, the interest alone on the $3.4 trillion in debt that they hold, it will have us so enslaved to them that we will literally not be able to think or act without their permission. This is about control. We must immediately end the Fed. Forget about auditing them. We don't need an audit to tell us what the truth is. It's apparently obvious to everyone. We simply end it. We charge them. We prosecute them. We convict them. We imprison them. Or even, in some extreme cases, execute them for treason. And we use the rule of law to restore our nation to sovereignty. Financial sovereignty. Okay. Let's begin the roll. A couple of quick announcements. There's a shotgun raffle, that is being held by the Howell County Amateur Radio Club. If you're interested, the shotgun is a Mossberg 590, with a 9-shot tube. It's an extension. Composite stock. It lists for over $500. Basically, the raffle tickets are $5 each, or 5 for $20. The drawing will be held at the battery station on Washington Avenue in West Plains on noon of November 30th. You do not have to be present to win. The only qualification is that you must be legally able to meet gun ownership requirements. Quite frankly, in my opinion, that is just as long as you are able to fog a mirror, but that's another story. If you're interested in obtaining some tickets for this, and you don't have to be local and you don't have to be present, you can call 417-372-1135. Now, that information number is for information on the raffle, the shotgun, or on the ham radio classes that are run by the same organization, the Howell County Amateur Radio Club. That particular club is holding classes that are being held every Saturday, including this Saturday, and this will be your last Saturday to attend the ham radio class and not have to wait for the next one, because you can miss one or so days, but you cannot miss too many sessions. That's being held on Saturdays at 9 to noon. It's going to be held on the K Highway, South Howell County Ambulance Building. It's a half mile from the Huddle House down on Route K. If you're interested, you can call the telephone number 417-372-1135. It's an important program, and you should learn it. I've been attending it, and I think it's an excellent course. John is an excellent teacher. He's got a lot of knowledge and information. He's also the president of the Howell County Amateur Radio Club. And so you won't find a guy who's a better or more knowledgeable teacher and educator. I also want to mention our sponsors and our friends over at the battery station. Make sure that you get a chance to visit them on their website or call them or visit with them at their store. Their store is located at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains. Kevin is a friend of mine, the owner there. He's an outstanding patriot, an extraordinary American. He has outstanding products there that vary from ammunition. They do not sell firearms, but they do have ammunition. They offer all kinds of tactical gear, survival gear, self-reliance products and information services. They've got freeze-dried food. They have batteries, every battery that you could ever imagine. It's called the battery station, right? They've got every battery that you could imagine, except with the exception of watch batteries. They don't do watch batteries. I guess there's just, I don't know. They don't do them. But that's about the only thing they don't do. They have a website. It's batterystation.com. Don't go by what the inventory is up there, because it's not accurate in terms of all the other products. It's predominantly related to their battery business. They ship more batteries than almost anyone else in the United States, all over the country, in fact, all over the world. Their phone number is area code 417-257-7799. That's 417-257-7799. Ask for Kevin. Tell him that Mike from America's Voice sent you. He'll be happy to talk with you, or anyone else there that answers the phone if he's unavailable. They have an outstanding product line. Call them, talk to them, order your product. They ship all over the country. It's a great place to do business. And if you want to go see that shotgun, I believe it's on display there. Okay. You know, following the 21-hour speech by Senator Ted Cruz at the Senate yesterday, well, yesterday, but all the night before as well, in which he was supporting the defunding of the Obamacare debacle, voters had made so many calls to the Republican establishment and so many nail downs on their websites and their Facebook pages that they literally melted their phones down, and most of them took their phones off the hook. You see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the value and the benefit of grassroots activism. That's why we educate, inform, motivate, and, what is it? Activate you. Your job, your function, your role is to be educated and informed about what's going on around you. To then become motivated to take action as a grassroots individual. But I'm only one person. What can I do? You can go onto their Facebook pages. You can call their telephone numbers. You can send them emails. You can write them in letters. You can meet them at their town hall meetings, as when and if they hold them. You can call their local offices. You can visit the local offices and stand there and rail at their front counter. You can protest with a sign in front of their offices. You can put up a sign in your front yard that expresses your indignation at the treason and the betrayal that's going on everywhere in the United States of America. Even when these people shut off their phones, there were so many. I got to tell you something. The high volume of calls literally had their voicemails either chock full or they were just taking their phones off the hook and they rang endlessly. Now, if that doesn't tell you that this is a group who is completely and totally, absolutely out of touch with America, I don't know what else will. The truth of the matter is, they don't want to hear from you. If the traitors in Congress, and I mean both sides, both houses, were actually listening to the voices all around them, they would see that conservatives, patriots, and GOP establishment constituents are all seeking the same thing. They seek elected representatives with the courage, the chutzpah, the courage of their convictions, the brass, to stand and fight. But they are ingrained in the compromise mentality. They have been coerced. They have been corrupted. They have sold out. And therefore, they can't listen. Because the simple fact is this: even if they desired the change that you are demanding of them, they cannot accomplish that task. They owe their bribers. They owe their handlers. They owe their corporate cronies who have been paying them hard cash, pouring money into their election coffers, pouring gold into their pockets. And they simply cannot do a turnabout of position. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot fix this. That's why we are beyond political solutions in an attempt to, well, let's just replace them when election comes. Many of them won't be elected until Obama is out of office. We don't have that time. If your state has a recall provision, you should begin to use it. The Arizona senator, one of the biggest traitors in the GOP, was also a presidential candidate. Thank God he was defeated. John McCain. His phone was actually off the hook. Callers got a message stating his voicemail was full. He was so out of touch with you that night during the Cruz speech, here's what he was doing. He was tweeting, I kid you not, this is the truth. He was tweeting messages that said, final episode of Broadchurch tonight, one of the most entertaining shows on TV right now. You've got to be kidding me. Your alleged compatriot, Mr. McCain, is standing there fighting for our lives, up all night, on his feet for 21 hours, and you're sitting home watching Broadchurch, and you're, to make matters worse, you're encouraging others, your followers, your constituents, your supporters, to watch it with you and ignore your compatriot. John McCain, you are a traitor to the United States of America. You are an oath breaker, and you should be dealt with accordingly. Michelle Malkin actually tweeted, meanwhile, McCain is tweeting about a TV show. See the problem here, America? Very appropriate. Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn, their lines were so busy, the messages were just saying that the line was busy and sending callers either to voicemail or telling them to visit their website or call back another time. McConnell announced on Monday he doesn't support the attempt by Cruz to defund Obamacare. They cannot understand the outrage of America. You see, you know why? It's real simple. They have been exposed by the example set by Ted Cruz. I don't care whether or not he's also lathering himself in butter for a presidential run. The simple truth is this. He's not even trying to do that. It's a natural effect of his courage and his courageous action, which is to stand up and do what he actually promised to do. The one thing no one else has been able to muster the courage to accomplish. McConnell says he'd only need 41 out of 46 Republican senators to vote to block the cloture, but he refuses to support the effort. They fear that they'll take the blame for the government shutdown. Well, the truth is, most of us really don't give a rat's rear end whether or not they do or not. We couldn't give a flip. Shut it down as far as I'm concerned. Probably the best thing that could happen to America. Oh, I get it. I understand there's problems with that. I don't really care about government anymore. And you shouldn't either. Right now, it's looking out for us. We are the number one. We're going to take a break. You're listening to America's Voice Now. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you can utilize grassroots efforts to make a change. We're going to talk about the truckers in D.C., what's coming in October 11th through 13th, and what you can do to help starve the beast. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.